Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Farzad Jalaei from NRC. I'm on one hat like research officer, leading research projects at Construction Research Center at NRC. For those who are not familiar with National Research Council, we are R&D arm of the federal government, and we are trying to facilitate in between industry and academic organizations. And we are also like having researchers in-house. Over 400 people at Construction Research Center working in different domains of the construction sector related stuff, buildings, infrastructure. And we also working mainly on digitalization, productivity, and like a big platform that I want to start with today. I think like this slide is not new. I showed this almost 2 years ago at Building Transformations about like announcing the National Research Council platform to decarbonize construction sector at scale. It's kind of like around $200 million investment of the federal government on R&D stuff and mainly on regulatory framework in terms of facilitating and also revitalizing the prescriptive-based regulations. As you may know, like NRC owns the national model codes, national master specifications, and also Canadian Construction Materials Center. So we are trying to kind of adopt the more performance-based solutions and performance-based language and terminologies into the next generation of the codes from 2030. And on the other side, NRC has been active on decarbonization related stuff since 2018. And this is kind of like a continuous of that program to reduce the carbon and also help government in commitment of reducing the carbon by 30% by 2030 with the next round of like a generation of the regulations, and also moving towards the net zero carbon initiative. So we have like 3 programs in parallel operating under this platform. One is the low carbon regulatory framework. Another one works on low carbon construction material and practices. And we are in the third one, which is construction sector digitalization and productivity, which we are supporting like other 2 programs on decarbonization stuff and on making the next generation and also like the current codes and master specifications digitalized and BIM compliant, and taking it to the next step, which is like the digital twinning stuff that we keep hearing from this morning. This is a very populated slide, but in nutshell, we are defining different master projects in different themes under the construction sector digitalization and productivity. As I mentioned, like performance-based codes are trying to, we are trying to make that machine readable, BIM compliant, and also look into adopting the performance language in it. Digitalization of construction processes is what we are kind of like trying to work on either like the standards and guidelines set up and adoption, creating some kind of like a solution related to the common data environment and common data framework, and also demonstrating some success stories out of the projects that we are adopting the solutions and following the manuals, guidelines, and standards in to kind of reflect back the ROI and the productivity measures out of those demo projects. I keep calling it still like an IKEA analogy. When you see the whole setup in the showroom, you have the manual and you are given some tools to kind of like follow the manual stuff and build that type of furniture to to use it. And also like we are active on the accelerating of offsite construction and industrialized construction as well, with different master projects are defined under that. With this program, like so far we tried to build the capacity, we tried to initiate some R&D activities, collaborating with the universities from east to west, almost like we are collaborating with all universities nationwide and even international collaborators. And we are also having so many rounds of calls for proposals. We are just recently done with requesting for proposals for using digitalization for retrofit projects. We had RFI for our Ocean Coastal River Engineering Research Center about like a digital twinning stuff. And we are going to have another innovative innovation Canada Solutions, I think, program for using BIM and digitalization for code compliance check and e-permitting and virtual inspection as well. So this is how we keep collaborating with early adopters, other government departments, industry, collaborators, and also helping SMEs to adopt and also transform this digital language and methodologies and solution to the next step. So far, I can say for digitalization of construction processes, as I mentioned, we are working with this IKEA analogy. We mainly focused on building the foundation stuff. So far, we published several reports in terms of like R&D priorities that we are working with the industry in terms of helping them to kind of like see what gaps they are having like in different aspects of the digitalization. And those 8 areas that you are seeing here, from circular economy to life cycle aspect of data management, on the cost, on the carbon, on code compliances and standards, going towards the e-permitting and digital coupling, cyber physical system, all are kind of like R&D priorities that we are having right now. And we are kind of like looking into what are the success stories and like what is what's currently going on international wise, and what is Canadian readiness and Canadian market gaps in terms of touching on different areas related to digitalization. It's been almost like a few months since January. I think like we also worked with Canada Standard Association and other standard association in terms of bringing over the ISO 19650 approved in Canada. So NRC was also like acting as the voting member over there. So we are having 5 parts of ISO 19650 that is approved in Canada, and the other one, 7870, I think like it's just recently approved and published. So these are like the main areas that we are touching on, kind of like bringing here those reference documents and reference items that can be adopted by the larger industry on common data environment and the framework. We also worked with the Building Smart International and its Canadian chapter, plus the universities, in terms of figuring out how the structure of the common data environment, BIM-based common data environment, and adopting the open standards will look like, and how we need to set it up at National Research Council, working with the other government departments, and how the API came out of this common data environment can communicate with the other CDEs at the province level, at the municipal level, or at the project level. So this document is also like a part of it. And this is kind of like a roadmap type thing, like where we started at 2022 and how we are keep going, like in terms of paving this pathway of bringing over those reference documents. And at the same time, we are also identifying different use cases. Either at NRC campus, we are having some test houses that we are trying to develop some solutions, and also creating the digital replication of those houses as a test, like at NRC campus, to test out like different aspects, different semantics, ontologies, services, methodologies that is associated with that. And also we are working with the other government departments like Department of National Defense and PSPC, as John mentioned this morning, in terms of creating the digital replication and also doing the data management on their assets as well. And also the other type of infrastructures. We are working with future of infrastructure groups in terms of identifying some use cases. And out of this, we are trying to bring over the productivity measures and KPIs, and how we adopted these solutions, standards, and what type of benefits and productivity return on investments that we are getting out of it. And we are going to take it out like until 2030 timeline, with like moving towards BIM practice manual, and also like bringing over national type of like a BIM and digital twin policy on table, like in Canada, to be adopted. Let's get to this project. I'm here with Bilal. Sorry for late introduction. I'm here with Bilal. This actually initiative is one of those important items that we wanted to bring over in Canada. Like BIM Maturity at Scale, this project is started like almost last year. And we kind of try to, from like master project of building the foundation in Canada, we try to look around like how building information modeling is going to be measured in terms of the maturity level at projects from micro to macro level. Yeah, since Bilal is here, we like as our collaborator, who's done this practice almost like in so many countries from international. And so we are very glad to have his expertise like from Australia to bring over to Canada in terms of using it for our Canadian market level. So as I mentioned, the purpose is to deliver this comprehensive strategy to advance the digital transformation for the Canadian construction sector. And our focus is still building information modeling at this point, because we found it as the core engine which like drives us to the other practices, as I mentioned, from life cycle, environmental, and cost aspect, to permitting, to virtual inspection, to all this stuff. So this is kind of like a core engine and driving force for like to measure the maturity in different levels of the projects and the organizations, and even like personnels. Yeah, like the alignment is kind of like a fully aligned with our master projects and our like a important KPIs that we are having through this platform. And we are trying to generate the adoptable and data-driven performance improvement ecosystem. As again, like as I mentioned, and as it is discussed many times since this morning, I'm trying to, it seems like, yeah, still. It's not evenly done in Canada still. Like we are still this fragmentation, like state from federal to provinces to the projects to the municipalities. So we want to bring this such type of like a common framework in terms of standardizing the process of measuring the maturity of adoption of the digitalization, or BIM as the core engine, into the projects. I'm still having the problem. Seems like it's yeah. And yeah, the whole opportunity here is to implement this common framework for scalable BIM maturity assessment and improvement. I think I should turn it over to Bilal because this is a very important slide to present about why this is very important and why we need to do this. And yeah.
Thank you, Farzad. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for being from this side of the room. Really appreciate your presence. Thank you, Farzad, for the introduction. Just to add to what Farzad said, the type of work I do is I have two hats. I'm a consultant. I do like roadmaps and strategies, stuff like that. But more importantly, I'm a founder of something called the BIM Excellence Initiative, which is a not-for-profit group with more like 200 plus researchers from across the world. We have multiple projects. One of them is a BIM dictionary. If you go bimdictionary.com, it is available in English and Quebecois, I mean French. And we've got also BIM Macro Adoption Project, which we collect data, lessons learned from multiple countries. And this BIM maturity at scale is very important. Why? First, let's start with the term, meaning we're really confused about digital twin. I don't find it very confusing, personally. We use the BIM as an umbrella term to cover both the digital model before you have a physical entity. And once you have a physical entity, we have a digital twin, model, twin. And there's, of course, standards that overlap between them, and there's things that do not overlap, but there's a continuity. So when you hear the term BIM in our presentation, we mean all the technologies, all the policies and standards, and all the processes necessary to design, to build, and operate any kind of facility, okay? So BIM really, that's really the essence of it. So if that's really the big term, this is the entry point into digital transformation within the construction industry, why measuring BIM maturity at scale is important. It's self-evident, of course, but let's see if this works. Is it this one? Okay, so measurement. Many organizations, I'll try to use it from memory, many organizations do not regularly assess themselves, correct? And if they do, they don't do it accurately. They don't have any methodology. They're focused on doing what they do, the business, constructing, designing. So even if they do it, they don't do it accurately, and they cannot compare themselves to others because they don't have access to information coming from other companies similar to them, so they don't have any benchmarks. So measurement is very important. As you know, if you can't measure it, you cannot improve it. BIM, we said this kind of umbrella term, it's an opportunity, it's a challenge. And there's proof now, after many years, that if you adopt BIM properly, you will improve your productivity, you improve your efficiency. Okay, there's no doubt about this anymore. There's lots of data supporting this. It's been more than 20 years, after all, I know many of you would have attended something similar to this 10 years ago. For me, 10 years ago. 10 years ago. For me, it's 20 years ago. Okay? I'm older than you, no? Yes, okay. So there's no standards even. There's no standards about, ISO 19650 and lots of standards. So BIM, we know what BIM is, really. What is maturity? Maturity is a very simple kind of a measurement approach. It's about just moving from something being ad hoc, like, haphazard. That's what we call level A, to something being defined, we know what to do, to something being managed, okay, managed by a person or a system. To then, when you have multiple managed systems, like information systems or knowledge systems, any of these kind of systems, we can then integrate them. Okay, and then over time we optimize them. So really, maturity is very simple. You can measure anything using a maturity metric, and we can apply that. And we've applied that to BIM over many years. And there's a BIM maturity matrix, there's a macro maturity matrix available, all under Creative Commons. Now we're trying to apply this at the Canadian construction industry level. So let's just move through this. Maturity is really easy to measure and very accurate as well if it's done properly. Okay, why scale is important? Like we've been doing assessment in Quebec for the past maybe 4 years. We collected more than 1 million data points using the same metrics. covering 650 medium and large organizations. The intention there was funded by the government there is to understand what's missing. Once you understand what's missing, you can develop the training programs, you can do the improvement programs. So we're trying to replicate that and expand this across the whole of Canada to include other provinces and have comparative data that can be filtered. So where's the, who knows? Okay, so anyway, so this is the project, BIM Maturity at Scale. Okay, maybe you just give it time. Like low bandwidth or something. Okay, so the project includes 3 stages, as Farzad alluded to. First stage is these concepts. What is BIM, what is maturity, what is at scale. And then stage 2 is about collecting the data and engaging with stakeholders, all stakeholders, building transformations, building smart, the Department of Defense, all the stakeholders interested in improving performance on their assets, improving productivity, improving digital efficiency. So, okay. Has a delay. So the stage 1 has been completed, and this report, you can download it from the NRC website. At the end, if we can get to the end, there is a QR code, there is a link you can follow. So that's stage 1 completed. So now it's about stage 2. Stage 2, now with collaboration with the local stakeholders, we want to collect data, diagnostics, and then understand what's missing, and understand what's happening on the BIM adoption level, what's happening on the digital twin level. Based on this information, then new projects can be developed with partners, local partners. So for example, there is a discussion about a data dashboard. We will be able to provide it into that dashboard, whether we do it, whether NRC does it, or someone else does it, lots and lots of data. As I mentioned, with I wouldn't say a humble effort, it took a few years. We've got more than 1 million data points from Quebec. So the rest of the slides all really is about the methodology we're using, okay? So I'm not gonna bore you with the details, but the idea is this stage 2, we wanna collect data. How do you collect data? There's a slide here explaining it to more academically minded. Like first, we establish the purpose. Why are you collecting the data? Because when you start a diagnostic with an assessment, you have to have an intention. Are you trying to benchmark? Are you trying to capture lesson learned? What are you trying to do? Okay. Let's move it. Okay. I'll press it 3 times.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we are covering maturity. We cover lots of terms in it. So readiness. Many companies haven't really adopted BIM properly. They may have one alpha team, we call them, within a company doing a really good job. We call it an additive productivity and a sea of nothing, really. So we need to capture the readiness, the capability of the organization. We're going to look at the competence of the individuals. We cannot really assess and capture maturity without looking at the individuals and the systems and the projects. Usually people do it in a disjointed way. That's why we don't really get good results. So we really need to do a lot of different things in order to capture maturity. We have to look at compliance, for example. Do organizations comply with applicable ISO standards? Are they using the right classification systems, etc.? All these things add up to something called maturity. Okay, so when we're assessing BIM maturity, remember the definition of BIM at this umbrella term. And when we say maturity, we are really including readiness and capability and competency, all of them together. And we want to do it at scale. Now, before we discuss what scale, we have to understand that if you want to understand a market, and this is based on research many, many years, you can't really just say, I want to assess organizations only, as I mentioned. We have to look at the individual competency. Think of it as a hierarchy. Sorry. Competitive individuals within organizational systems, you capture the capability maturity of organizations and their compatibility on project teams. You end up with a market picture, okay? We can't just do one survey in a market and understand its maturity. I mean, it's you can, but it's not accurate, okay? Many people do it. But really, if you want to do it at the level that NRC wants to do it, we have to be a little bit more thorough, a little bit more structured. And this is why this has been published. Anyone can read it, anyone can criticize it, anyone can say, why don't you do this? Everything's available for people to read and to contribute to. So BIM maturity at scale includes BIM assessment at scale, and then when that's finished, we do BIM improvement at scale. Okay, so that's really it. If we just do assessment, fine, you capture data, but it's not enough to move the market forward. So we have to do BIM improvement activities at scale. So there's specific projects that NRC would be looking for partners, across the Canadian construction industry, of interest to them. Someone wants to develop a data dashboard, others want to develop templates, others want to do AI, automation, autonomous process mapping, etc. Maturity assessment. So this is the methodology. Anyone from academia here? Well, lucky. Yeah. No one. I'm not from academia. I have an academic hat. I'm an adjunct professor at ETS in Quebec. So I don't know what adjunct means, but yes. So there's the purposes and there's the results. We need to compare intention from assessment with the results we get. And then we've got the methodology. Our methodology is well researched and it's published. Anyone can look at it, and it includes a number of things. Okay, why we're doing it this way is explained by the methodology. Many people do just surveys. The way we want to do it is a little bit more robust. So we have maturity areas, something called language, and again, if you're interested in details, it's all in the document. I'll show you what I mean. So when we say maturity areas, when you think of, so these are the purposes. Hopeless. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we've got to, we have to establish the purpose, and then we have all the maturity areas. When you're discussing BIM, maturity of BIM, what are we really discussing? Are we discussing software? Is it enough to assess how many licenses people are using? Of course not. We have to look at the technology. We have to, in software, hardware, networks. We have to look at the processes. Do have process maps. We have to look at their compliance with standards, etc. All these are called areas. So when assessing BIM maturity, we're looking at all these areas. Okay. Second thing in not moving forward, correct?
I'm trying.
Yeah, maybe. The next thing is maybe the next one. We use a very specific language when doing assessment. Have you heard of the term model uses? Like, for example, if you want to explain to someone who doesn't understand what BIM is, what's the best way to explain it? You tell them you can do 3D representation. You can do clash detection. You can do cost estimation. You can do seismic analysis. You can do blah, blah, blah. These are called model uses. There's more than 70 of them, okay? A mature company can do multiple ones, depending on their discipline, of course, okay? So we use this language to develop our diagnostics. So we assess against these model uses or information uses. We have already a BIM dictionary online that we can use in English and in French. We have something called roles that we can measure against. Why is it working with you? Okay. So we use something called statements. Statements, so for example, when you describe a role or describe a capability of an organization, we don't just say company A can do BIM or cannot do BIM. What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything, okay? So we use very structured language to define the capability of an organization, the competency of an individual, and we do an assessment against these statements. It could be hundreds of statements. Why do we use statements? Because whenever we repeat the assessment in the future, or we use different language, like in French or English, whatever, or we modify it a bit for different audiences, the statements are the same, so we can compare the results. Yeah, I think we move forward a bit more.
One more?
Yeah. Is it working? So anyway, there's indices. So another part of the methodology is we have very specific indices, published indices, at least 15 years old, okay? They have been in public domain for a while. And many people, I don't know, many people, I've seen at least one, so to me that's many people, have using BIM maturity matrix for in their organizations to assess themselves. So now we're trying to scale it. So lots of metrics. Yeah, lots of, yeah, maturity levels. Yeah, keep moving. So we create a profile. So for example, we want to assess BIM maturity across Canada. What does that mean? Either we use a general profile, like something common to all organizations. This is only used if you want to compare different companies or organizations. Or we create a profile for each type of organization. Construction organization, design organization, a facility management organization. We can create a profile which is specific to Vancouver or by region, etc. So we have all these kind of tools at our disposal, so we can use them. And we use a very structured assessment and improvement methodology, blah, blah. I can read your faces, you're not interested. Okay, now we're scaling. If you want to scale, so you start with, this is really the importance of BIM maturity at scale. Okay, so we can do BIM maturity within an organization. But as we said, it doesn't mean we can do it accurately or repeatedly, or we do have benchmarks. This is where scale comes into play. Scale, according to this project we're doing, is that you start with a set of topics, like a small number of topics, and over time, like you repeat it, project takes maybe around 2 years, we can increase the granularity of the topics or add more topics. So for example, we start with basic BIM, add a hint of digital twin and there are some topics specific to asset management, then maybe slip in some AI there, okay? So that's what's called topic scaling, okay? Another one would be vertical scaling. So if we're working with large organizations, we could start with a single unit within that organization. And then over time, increase it. Look at the hierarchy or look at the supply chain, okay? So we have these mechanisms within the project to scale the assessment. And also, of course, we have the horizontal scaling, which is adding areas. So we could start here or where's the best place to start, I guess? Ottawa? Okay, so we start from an area, and over time we add areas because we cannot assess the whole of Canada in one go. So we have to be very smart. And this project is about this. How do you assess the BIM maturity at a certain scale that allow every organization to understand where it is and the steps it needs to improve its digital performance? Again, BIM is this wide word, covering all these topics, and want to improve performance, digital performance, efficiency, productivity. Okay. Maturity improvement in the report itself, you will find more than 19. Is it 19 or 19? 19. So with 19 plus, it's just as if it's more. It's 19 projects identified so far. It's 19. Anyway. One should say approximately 20, you know? So we have these 19 projects listed in the document that you can look at, including a dashboard, guides, a common information environment, which is a bit different than a common data environment. There's a global move to have e-permitting systems. We've done work in Emirates. There's great work to be learned from Singapore.
And we are starting with Finland.
Yes, yes. So we can, after we have the data, in the middle of the project, in the middle of stage 2, which is the data collection, these projects can start. Okay, so lots of these projects. Beautiful, that's it.
You are done.
Yes, we're done. Yes, so actually it's still going on. It's just this one went blank.
Okay, on the report side.
Yeah, it's still going. Anyway, you get the idea. The BIM maturity at scale is one of the projects of NRC, part of their program, which includes decarbonization, digitalization, productivity improvement. The essence of this project is to look at BIM, this wide digital transformation set of tools and processes and policies, in order to understand what's the current capability and what's missing. Okay, the project in this new stage will also start a wave of collaboration with local partners to start developing some of these projects. Okay, so we have the concepts, they're published. Please have a look. Provide feedback to Farzad. I'll give you his personal phone if you want. Give him your feedback. And then we do assessment, hopefully next 1.5 years, 2 years, and start the process of developing all these goodies. You know, how to improve, we moved on here. So the stakeholders in all this project are all of you, okay? Important players like digital transformations, building smart, as I mentioned, all the associations who are interested in improving the digital performance of the industry. We will be building on the lessons learned from many, many countries, and we're happy to take questions about who's doing what, but there's so much information and so much knowledge out there that we can replicate and adapt for the Canadian construction industry. Of course, it's going to be project controls. It's a government project after all. So that's really the essence of the project. This is BIM Maturity at scale, and we have 42 seconds to finish up. Do you want to say anything?
I think to complete Bilal's speech on the different aspects of the collaboration, we are like right about starting the second stage, which is like collecting data and also doing the validation check on the framework and creating the benchmarkings on this BIM maturity at scale indices and also like the different elements. And we really appreciate your interest in terms of getting back to us and collaborate with us. We want to kind of like get ourselves to like those type of like create those benchmarkings for Canada. And without data and without participation from the industry specifically, we can like have some settings on the federal stage. On the provincial, we have some like good links in terms of having some provinces, early adopters to work with us, but we mainly set up this platform and this program to help SMEs in terms of adopting it, using it, and also providing the tools, the self-assessment tools later on to test it out and to also like to use it and get the benefits out of it. So this is the final message I can say. And we are.
Do you have time for questions?
I'm not sure. Like we have time for 5 minutes. Okay.
Questions?
Yeah.
You can ask anything. Where we got our suits? Anything. Happy. Come on.
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah, it's better now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I appreciate the work you've done. It's very comprehensive. I think a little bit too comprehensive for a start. One thing that I've always found that clients, I operate in the UAE and Saudi Arabia, where digitalization is a big thing. Clients are very, very keen to implement BIM, spend a lot of money on documentation, but nobody really assesses use cases in terms of consuming use cases. There's the demand use cases. There's a lot of BIM use cases that are requested in projects, but they don't assess how they can actually consume it and make business decisions, or how it can help them with their business decisions. And following up on that, I find that because they don't do that, they don't know what an ROI is to provide a budget for the ongoing consumption of BIM use cases, especially digital twins or discussion about digital twins. Yes, it can provide a lot of benefit, but it needs a good amount of capex, in my opinion, to keep on going and for those benefits to be continued to be realized. But yeah,
Thank you.
I'd like to see one of, again, you were going through the presentation quickly and the screens were not syncing with what you were saying, but I'd like to see one of those KPIs or things mentioned as, do they have the right budget based on perceived ROIs and requirements to consume use cases?
Right. One of Farzad can complete, whatever I don't cover. One of the objectives of this project is to map BIM maturity to, I wouldn't say ROI, but to productivity and efficiency. Okay, so there is a mapping exercise to be done. Of course, return on investment is not the metric is very misleading. Investment is not just you invest money. You just invest effort. You have to prepare your systems. You have to right competent people to work on a project. So it's very ROI is very overused kind of, let's say, metric. What we try to do is to find the direct link between digital transformation and productivity, okay? So without going into all the variables that we can't control, like environmental variables, social variables, all these things. It doesn't mean that implementing BIM and digital twin and VDC and whatever will improve productivity like there's a direct link. No, we increase the probability of improving productivity by using digital transformation processes and methodology. That's really the limit of it. If someone tells you adopt BIM and you will get productivity increase of 11%, as we used to get these kind of statements 15 years ago and 20 years ago, it doesn't exist. This doesn't exist. We're just increasing the probability of performance improvement. Because without digitalization, there is no scalability in improvement, okay? So we have to do it. It's like a necessary step, but it's not enough. Make sense? Okay. We'll try to discover that for you. We will. We will try. We'll try. We'll try to discover that. Any other question?
All right. Unfortunately, I think we have to make some time for the next next presenter. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Apologize about the challenges here. Thank you.